Hello everybody, I'm DuckFaden07. This is the new video, old list I made video about a few months ago. So it's an enigmatic incarnation deck, but also I'm trying to cheat in Agent of Treachery into play in a few different ways. So one way is sacking Leyland Binding to Enigmatic Incarnation, in which case you immediately steal something that was under Leyland Binding mostly, or something else if it's better. And other way is discarding um, the agent by playing Bitter Union, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, or Season Pyromancer, and then using Persist to bring it back. Persist also works well with Solitudes and Furies, so it's not just used for agent. It's also good with Season Pyromancer, of course, and Pitch Elementals. Other than that, we have a few Vrancin and, of course, Omnat Locus of Creation. Omnat pitches to all elementals. It's a great tutor target by sacking the Fable best and gaining life, stabilizing, and also it's just another way to cheat in Agent of Treachery earlier. So if you play Omnat on turn 4, on turn 5 you can hardcast Agent of Treachery if Omnat lives. So there are many ways to put Agent into play earlier, and Agent, I just found out that Agent is uh, very good currently in the meta game, and I just had great success with the deck so far. It's absolutely having a great win rate against Murktide type decks. So Murktide, Grixis, Proves, various Breach decks. Um, but also it's good against most of other mid-range decks. I think it um, also beats other four-color piles, standard control stuff. So I think it's a pretty good mid-range combo-ish type of deck, and it has just a really good late game. Very hard to win against it if a game reaches later stages. So okay, so I had a few 4-1 leagues, and we will just watch one of those right now. Um, Basically, in this league, I had one loss against I think Sky Breach opponent. But it was my sorry, I will just silence this. Okay, it was my Sky Breach opponent, but I kind of it was my first match of the day, and I just I kept a pretty poor hand. It was a very poor hand. I just I just wanted to get it through, didn't think about making 5-0 at the moment. So I just wanted to play some games and kept a pretty terrible hand. That's when I lost. I discarded one Leyland Binding, attacked with Goblin Shaman, and decided to go um, for the Enigmatic Incarnation. Unfortunately, opponent um, countered, but I had removal for the ferry, and I had a lot of threats in hand, so I could go Omnat, Fable, whatever. So a lot of good stuff in hand. Hard for my opponent to deal with. I had Omnat went through, so I was able to play fetch. Get 4 mana, play Enigmatic Incarnation. My opponent countered last turn, and immediately find agent, steal there the fairy, and at that point I think my opponent conceded. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so just had a huge amount of very hard to deal threats for my opponent, and the game was over soon. I think just the classic blue-white control with Leyline Binding really can't deal with this type of deck. So there's just too many threats they have to counter. There's Fable, which is pretty great here. Enigmatic Incarnation, Season Pyromancer, Omnat, Agent of Treachery. Okay, so I just played Enigmatic at this point, which means every enchantment I play is a problem for my opponent because it gets other threats on the field. Okay, so I got rid of some lands, got another 2 cards in hand, the land and Fable. Didn't want to use Passagion Castle here. I don't think it was necessary, so my opponent went for Supreme Verdict. Um, I have draw into Teferi, so I had two good threats here that I could um, play this turn, and I was able to resolve my Teferi. Okay, so I made terrible misplay here. I used my Enigmatic Incarnation, and I forgot my opponent played the Hallowed Moonlight this turn. So it was pretty big flop. But it wasn't even important because I had a lot of other stuff going on, a lot of good cards here. So even after that huge mistake, I wasn't close to losing. So that was it. Not punished because of the flop, but we'll see. We'll go through other games, other wins first, and then I'll show the loss in the end. Okay, in this match, again playing first, having decent hand, ran definitely good on the play against Ragavan. I had Fable next turn, another land in hand, so I just wanted to ping Ragavan here. They went for Shredder, but I have Renan 6 returning lands here. Easy removal for Shredder this turn, so I just went for Leyline plus Renan 6. My opponent succeeded to get Delirium from Consider and heated the Ran. So for this turn I decided to Leyline Binding their Channeler and play the Fable. My opponent played another removal and hit me with Ragavan, but I had a lot of threats left in hand, so I was just able to resolve my Omnat, get 5 mana, play my Wren, get that white basic, and play Wren with 2 two solitudes in hand, so pretty much unbeatable for them at this point. I was able to play both of my solitudes next turn because I had 10 mana. Also, my reflection of Kikijiki flipped, which means the next turn it will be pretty dangerous. So, first solitude, he played dress down. So I just I killed the Murktide end of turn, got 5 mana. Solitude Murktide, so my opponent just has 1 mana at this point, so not able to deal with the second Solitude. Of course, Kikijiki now becomes a very powerful threat, just copying those Solitudes and whatever else I draw. Okay, so I draw into Fury here, so I decide to immediately copy it, attack with it, and my opponent concedes. That was it. Okay, so this is a third match. Okay, again, playing first, again, decent hand. Binding Incarnation is a combo, so you can steal whatever you want with it on turn 4, which is pretty good against the Tron. So I'm just able to I went for a Leyland Binding here. So because it's a good opportunity to just negate their turn 1 artifact. So next turn I just went for Wren, played land. I hoped they don't have it, but they had it drawn from hand, and luckily they didn't have a good threat at the point. They just found Karn Liberated here, but wasn't able to play it. So which means I'll be able to resolve my Enigmatic Incarnation, and okay, so this is exactly the reason why I didn't 5-0 in the previous league I made with this deck. So this in Data Triumph is not ideal in this deck, and I'm kind of used to going basic forest, basic plains because I play my zoo domain deck a lot, and these are the basics I usually get. So I kind of just not used to, I wasn't used to this mana base, and that's the reason why I often with this deck get in data forest plays without thinking, and it just makes playing Omnat. You're unable to play Omnat on turn 4. It's just a terrible mistake. You got to be careful of it, not to make that stupid mistake. So I didn't 5-0 in the video I've made previously about this deck exactly because of this. I forgot I have in data Triumph on the field, and that I can play it with the forest and plains. It was just a very bad, stupid mistake. So I was able to break their Tron, get the Urzamine here by taking the Urzamine. Means they can't play Oblivion Stone. Uh, they can sack the Oblivion Stone at the moment. They had Expedition Map for next turn, but I had Agent of Treachery there to make another agent, steal another Tron land, and that's it. So my opponent concedes at this point. Okay, so stealing Tron lands seems pretty good against Tron opponent. I kept this hand because I had a decent hand, Leyland Binding here, Boseiju, Spreading Seas, or very good cards. My opponent also started with Forest, which means it's not the fastest hand they can have. I went turn to Spreading Seas on one of their Tron lands. I went for Night of Autumn here, kill the Graveyard Hate in the moment where they can't draw a card. They weren't close to Tron at this point. I just attacked with Knight. They would probably kill Knight here if they had removal, so I just went for a Glasspool Mimic, but also hold the Leyland Binding. Leyland Binding. Okay, so my opponent goes for Expedition Map. I went for the attacks here. I didn't have luck here to draw red mana source, so my opponent was able to play the Sundering Titan with the Force of Vigor. So they killed most of my lands. I was left with Knight of Autumn on the field. Two Knight of Autumn, so attacking for force. My opponent just one card in hand, but has drawn assembled. At this point, I play my Vran. Attack again for 4, but my opponent gets the Thundering Titan. Again with Blue Siege was last card in their hand, and I concede at this point, and that was it. That's one of the few ways my Tron opponent can win against this deck. Okay, so I kept a decent 6 cards. Spreading Seas on turn 2. Bitter Union to try to draw something. Enigmatic Incarnation to find Omnat and Night of Autumn at this point. Okay, so Spreading Seas on Tron Land turn 1 into Forest, pretty good. For me means that while my opponent will be pretty slow here, so I was able to just play my Fable. I discarded the Solitude and land, I got another land and ran 6. I played Enigmatic Incarnation here, forced my opponent to sack the relic, then sack the Leyline Binding, get the agent, and do the same thing again. Steal Tron land, and my opponent concedes again. That was it against my Tron opponent. Okay, so this time playing second. Mulligan, the starting 7 kept a decent 6. Unfortunately, no fetch here, so I got to play Bran without being able to get fetch from graveyard, but it's okay. So this matchup was Amulet's Titan, so I just plus the Bran without being able to bring anything. So my opponent just played There's a Saga, Grazer, so ramped pretty good into Sakura, which means they'll be able to play the Titan next turn. I just went for Fable here, and plus the Ren again. Not being able to do much, unfortunately. The land sequencing made me unable to play Enigmatic plus Leyland Binding next turn, because I can have I will have 5 mana, but I won't have my Leyland Binding. I won't have 5 land types, so my Leyland Binding will cost 2 mana. Okay, so I could have played Omnat, then sacrifice my Goblin Shaman token, and then play Fetch, gain some life, and play Enigmatic same turn, but I didn't think it was pretty necessary, so my opponent went for Boseiju, killed the Leyland Binding, I got 2 lands. They got also haste to Amulet Titan, find the 2 Urza Sagas, but no Dread means I live and I live to fight for another turn, and I had Omnat plus Enigmatic Incarnation. In the next turn, so I kind of needed this. I found my Agent of Treachery, which was a pretty good draw here. So I just played my Omnat, played Fetch, gain a lot of mana, and just hardcast the Agent of Treachery, steal their Titan, and with just 2 cards in hand, and being able to copy the Agent Solitude next turn, also Enigmatic Incarnation, means I'll be in a pretty good situation if they don't kill me next turn. Okay, so they went for Cultivator Colossus, but didn't have a lot of stuff in hand, so they just draw 2 and concede. Okay, so that happened. Okay, sorry, what was this? Okay, so that was game 1 against Amulet Titan opponent. It was a weird game because my opponent went for Colossus and pretty much did nothing with Colossus. I was playing second here. I got a decent hand with Knight of Autumn, Boseiju, Leyland Binding, Fury, Persist. A lot of stuff going on, so I just went for Ren here so I can go Boseiju and return Boseiju next turn. I was also able to just play both Boseiju and Leyland Binding here, so um, pretty good. Pretty good position for me. My opponent also had Boseiju, but just to make another clue token with our tracker, it's nothing special for me. So at this point, I'm able to play my Omnat, draw a card, gain some life, gain 5 mana, but my opponent got Dismember in hand, so I kind of wanted to get rid of this tracker, and I was able to hardcast the Fury this turn. So I just pitched the Fury. Again, get rid of tracker. My opponent was kind of slow on mana. I used Boseiju to kill the Simgrow Chamber. Also had Knight and Binding in hand. Also Agent of Treachery and Persist. So pretty much everything I need, and my opponent realized that and conceded this game. Okay, so we'll now watch the defeat. Defeat was pretty awkward. I kept, it was my first game of the day, so I kept a pretty bad hand, as you can see, just 2 Enigmatic Incarnations and nothing else, so pretty bad. Also, my draws weren't very good, so Agent of Treachery, just worse I could draw in this situation. My opponent also exiled the Wren and 6 from my deck, which is kind of the best thing you can do here. So I played my Wren and 6. killed the first dragon one, but they had another one. So I didn't really have much going on, but at least I'm now able to play the enigmatic incarnation and hope to draw into more enchantments. So that happened, and but it wasn't a very good situation for me because my starting hand was terrible and my draws were even worse. So also my opponent had a bit of luck with exiling the Ragavan, which definitely was important for the match. Okay, so just the third enigmatic incarnation, uh, two agents. I decide to sack both of my enigmatic incarnations here, get two furies. Maybe I should have left one enigmatic in, but I had another one in hand. That's the reason why I sacked both. It would be better to maybe try to sack it here. I didn't even have black mana here to use Persist on Fury, so basically I didn't do much until the end. We can just go to the next game. It wasn't very fun to watch. Okay, so I got a bit more serious here after realizing I just lost a game against a very good matchup because of keeping a very bad hand. My opponent goes a Ledger Shredder here and Mishra's Bubble, which is kind of perfect for me just jamming the temporary lockdown. So I just went for temporary lockdown while they are tapped and exile Channeler Shredder. They play another Shredder, but at this point I have Leyline Binding plus Endurance, so pretty much worst threat they can have here. Uh, of course, they are forced to attack. This version don't even play counter spell, so they can't counter endurance. They can only heat it, but they don't even have heat. So I just block the channeler. They bolt endurance, but I still 2-for-1 them. So a pretty good situation for me. My opponent plays another iteration. I also get persist here, steal land, save Leyland Binding in case they play something. So I try my enigmatic, resolve it, and still didn't want to play this leyline. I could have gone immediately for leyline and get another agent, steal another land. But I thought I'm in a pretty good position. I can't really lose here, so I just wanted to play my endurance and continue attacking them. Okay, so what's happening? Okay. So I didn't use my enigmatic here, and my opponent had a wear tear. And also find the land. So they went aggressively for Delirium here. Just make two channeler abilities, Shredder ability, and they got Delirium again, but it was kind of perfect for me because they were forced to attack again and I had another Endurance, so I was able to block Channeler again, kill it for free. because they had just one blue mana open. So everything is kind of slow here. I don't know why. But yeah, that happened. So just went for binding on Shredder, being able to sack it again, get another agent, and my opponent conceded. Okay, so kept a decent hand here. Nothing crazy, but had Vran, had Lockdown, a Fable, all decent cards here. Okay, so a very aggressive start from my opponent. I had this temporary lockdown in hand, so I was fine with it. So still this start was really aggressive. That's why I decided to go for Brennan 6 immediately. They obviously didn't have a spell pierce at this point because they will probably pierce the Vran. And I succeeded to ping one of the channelers. I thought a kind of pinging channeler here is more relevant than pinging Ragavan. They just went for Shredder, which was ideal opportunity for me to try to play the lockdown because they just had two cards in hand at this point. But unfortunately, they had the Pierce. The other Pierce was in the graveyard. I thought they have a lot more in deck. So, so in this case, this was kind of bad situation for me. I didn't have much else in hand. My hand kind of depended on this Vren getting back lands and temporary lockdown. So it was a tough situation for me. Also, my opponent played into the Fairy. Definitely a problem. I just wanted to try to play Fable, get the ability next turn. I did succeed to stabilize pretty good, but I should have probably played the Bitter Union last turn to try to get that fourth land to be able to cast Omnat this turn. If I was able to maybe cast the Omnat, I would be in a decent position. So I had the Fury there into Bitter Reunion. Bitter Reunion into another Fury, and if I wasn't this low on life, I would be able to persist the Fury again, kill the last Channeler, and the Fairy, and I would stabilize on one life pretty nicely. But unfortunately, I was too low on life, and that was it. So that's the entire league. I played, I think it was pretty close to 5-0. It costed, I think, probably it costed me the trophy that first game in a day where I kept just a terrible starting hand with the two enigmatic incarnations and the four lands. I would usually never keep it. It was just my first game this morning, and I just was kind of, okay, let's keep it, let's try this. I don't care if I lose, but it was significant, very significant later, just didn't realize it at the moment. Okay, so that was it. This is the second video of this deck I made, so I really like it. I think it's pretty well positioned in the meta game. I feel like it's pretty strong. It's very hard to play against. Being able to scam Fury Solitude in with Persist Also scam Agent of Treachery with Enigmatic Incarnation for 4 mana feels like kind of a creativity deck, but we are also on persist plan, so we can turn 3 and turn 4 very often just use persist on agent, try to and start to steal our opponent's stuff, which is pretty good plan in the meta game, which has just huge amount of mid-range game plans. So that's it. Okay, hope you like the deck. Hope you like the gameplay. If you wanna help the channel, so hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and that's it for this time. Okay, goodbye.